Alright, as you can see, I've already set up a GarageBand project. I did this just for time's sake, so this video is not too long. What I've done is I've gone to the site and imported a free loop here. We have a thunder rain loop. Say you want to use a thunderstorm and loop it in your video game for some ambiance. It's a fairly short loop. In this case, we're going to want this thunderstorm to last, just to loop continuously for 30 seconds. And so how you'd achieve this is basically you'd have to, so I took and I dragged and imported the loop twice. So I dragged and created two tracks called Thunder Rain. It's a WAV file. When I dragged it in, it automatically created the tracks. And I found an optimum volume where it didn't distort. When I first played this back, it was actually distorting up here, turning into red. So I turned the volume down a little bit on both tracks, equalized them out. Now in this case, I want the loop to go for 30 seconds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to track, and I'm going to go, going to go to control, and I'm going to go show time in LCD. So if we go down here, now we see the time that's elapsing. And I'm going to create something called crossfade. And the way you do crossfades in GarageBand is not how you do them in other DAWs. Usually a crossfade tool. So we basically are going to move the volume in and out from one loop track to another. So we'll go up to show automation down here. In this case, we're going to select track volume. All right, and you click on it to substantiate it to the left. And I have my track volume. We've already worked with these nodes. Now if you'll notice down here, I've lined up the loop, so as this loop starts to wind down, the loop will start up again. And if you can see how I've taken the track volume and just basically gotten rid of it or silenced the track down while this track comes in. So you should hear a seamless transition. Now if I turn on my cycle region here, I'll shorten the cycle region a bit just so we're working with this one section here so we can hear the transition. And see how it really transitions pretty seamlessly from one loop to the next. And I did the same thing again. So in this case, the second loop, I silenced that, made the volume go down, and made the volume go up in the first loop. So another seamless transition. And you continue along the same manner until you had a nice seamless 30-second loop. You're going to have to experiment, excuse me, and move these around because sometimes you're going to hear silence or clicks or pops. So you're going to have to tweak these and move them around and get them to sound. You know, it's kind of poke and hope. You have to try to figure out where it's going to be, where the transitions are. Now, if you'll notice here, it's probably going to, when this loops back to the beginning, because this is getting silent and then going loud again, there might be a pop or a click, and so you might have to take one part of the second or third loop and put it in there so it transitions back and forth. And you're going to have to use your ears. And in this manner, you can just continue doing this down the timeline until you've actually hit up to 30 seconds. And the way to do this is you're going to have to find out where 30 seconds is. In this case, I'm just moving along and watching the bottom. There, quicker. So 30 seconds is about right there exactly. And if you look down here, it's telling me I have 30 seconds right here. So you can watch it go across here too as well. So you're going to want to extend your cycle line all the way to 30 seconds here. And that's where you're going to have to continue doing this loop, and that's how you create a 30-second loop. Now, in this case, I've just created a, let's go back to our timeline here. Once I've created my loop, I'm going to stretch my timeline here. I know this is pretty seamless, so I checked it out. Then I'm going to export it. And I'll just go up to share. and I'll go to export song to disk. We've already been through this. In this case, I'm going to export as MP3, higher quality, compress, and I'm going to call this rainstorm loop. And what I usually do in cases when I create loops, I put in how long they are. So this one's, you know, let's say I continued it, and we'll just call it a 30-second loop. So I know that this is a rainstorm 30-second loop. I'll save it to the desktop. And there's my rainstorm 30-second loop. Now I can play this. Now if I click on the loop itself and hit the space bar, it'll play as well. But you can also see up here the time. In this case it was a 12-second loop. So that way you can take a loop that was originally 4 seconds and extend it into a 30-second loop using the method I just discussed. And it takes some tweaking, but you can figure out how to do it, how to make seamless loops using the volume controls in GarageBand.